Allen Iverson is one of the most compelling players in the history of the NBA, and it starts with his abnormal scoring ability, where he averaged 27 points over 12 seasons, including 4 years of over 30 points per game. But as talented as Iverson was, you could make the argument that his career as a whole was a bit of a disappointment, only making one NBA Finals, and I think a huge reason for that was he never had the best talent around him, or perhaps he never had the right talent. Perhaps Allen Iverson's era was actually against him, and if he played in today's NBA with today's mindsets, perhaps he would be better off. Let's take you to Allen Iverson's best team. His 2001 76ers made the NBA Finals, pulled off a heroic Game 1 upset against the Los Angeles Lakers. They lost in 5 games, but that team had an interesting dynamic. It was Allen Iverson surrounded by defensive players. Of course, Dikembe Mutombo, one of the best shot blockers ever. Tyrone Hill, a tough-as-nails power forward who didn't score much, but he was definitely an intimidating presence. George Lynch, who, like Tyrone Hill, was not much of a scorer at the wing position. There was also Eric Snow, who, for his career, was about a 12-point scorer, but he was pass first. The only real other offensive option he had was Aaron McKie, who put up 11 points per game off the bench. There was not a lot of scoring around AI, and as a result, he was double-teamed a lot by NBA defenses, and he could still kill him because he was Allen friggin' Iverson and he's one of the best players in the history of the league. But I think this is where his era really hurts him, because shooting in the early 2000s, there wasn't as much of an emphasis on it as there is in today's NBA. It was starting to come around, but it wasn't really there yet. Eric Snow was never a reliable outside shooter, and the same thing can be said for the majority of that roster that AI had around him. It just wasn't a thing that you needed to be good at like you do in today's NBA, and having no one to kick out to while you're getting double-teamed all the time, it makes it really friggin' tough on you. And if we go through AI's entire tenure as a Sixer, the only knockdown shooter he ever had was Kyle Korver. Andre Iguodala had a couple of okay seasons, but the team wasn't very good defensively. And the impact of Iverson just having one other offensive player around him like Carmelo Anthony was huge because AI was more efficient, but once again, the defense wasn't really there for that Denver Nuggets team. But I think in a modern day situation, AI would actually be better. Now, could I just pluck any random NBA legend and say, oh yeah, he'd be better in today's NBA? Probably. But I'm doing this with AI because, again, I feel like his career as a whole was a little disappointing. Let's take you to the modern day NBA, specifically the 2015 Houston Rockets, led by James Harden, similar to AI, ball dominant, also not the best defensive player in the world. But because three-point shooting is such a requirement nowadays, when anybody wanted to double-team James Harden, he had a bunch of guys to kick out to. There was Jason Terry, there was also Trevor Ariza on the wing, replaced George Lynch's non-shooting with Ariza's knockdown three-point ability, but also Houston had a slew of defenders too. Trevor Ariza would fit in beautifully with that Sixers team because that team was full of defensive players. I mean, hell, the power forward of this team, Terrence Jones, shot 35% from outside, and he could also play defense as well. You see, in Iverson's era, they surrounded him with defense, but they didn't give him the shooting. I mean, they didn't have Monty Eunice for the playoffs, but imagine AI with a stretch four. There's also Patrick Beverley, who again was injured for them in the playoffs, but a lockdown defender just like those Sixers teams, but he could shoot a damn three-pointer. Imagine Iverson having these sorts of tools at his disposal. There's also Dwight Howard, who shares a lot of similarities to Dikembe Mutombo. I mean, you could pretty much plop in Allen Iverson to that 2015 Rockets team, and the defense would be just about the same, but offensively, they'd be much better, because you have AI attacking, but then he also has guys to kick out to, which means the defense can't just collapse on AI whenever they want. Let's do some more modern day examples. LeBron James. I know Allen Iverson is no LeBron. Barely anyone is. But look how many shooters LeBron James has when he can kick out. He's got J.R. Smith, who might not be his teammate for much longer, but who knows. There's also another stretch four in Kevin Love. Again, AI with a power forward who could shoot, that would have been really something. And he also has Kyrie Irving at the point guard position. Another big man in Channing Frye. I mean, if you just collapse on LeBron, the Cavs are going to kill you with their shooting. Whereas, once again, AI had George frickin' Lynch. The best three-point shooting season this guy ever had. He did shoot 40%, but he only attempted 36 all year. It's not the shooting that AI needs. Another example, Kawhi Leonard. When Kawhi's got the ball in his hand and he's driving to the rim, He can kick it out to Patty Mills, who's an awesome three-point shooter. There's Manu Ginobili, who's getting up there in age, but you still have to pay attention to him. There's Danny Green coming across screens. And then, oh yeah, the power forward thing again. He's got one of the best shooting fours ever in LaMarcus Aldridge. Imagine if Iverson had that much room to operate. But AI would also live at the free throw line in today's NBA, another reason why he would be great. For his career, Allen Iverson attempted 8.9 free throws a game, including 3 seasons of over 10 attempts per game, and 1 year in 2006, 11.5. Now, to put this into perspective, he averaged more free throw attempts per game for his career than both Michael Jordan and LeBron James. And that was in the early 2000s. Think about modern day. Another example, once again James Harden, how often he attacks defenses, draws contact, and gets to the line. Allen Iverson would be able to do the same thing, man, and perhaps even better than James Harden does it. So he would have opposing big men in foul trouble regularly. And then there's also the spread pick and roll, which is the go-to in today's NBA. That would be right up Allen Iverson's wheelhouse, to be honest with you. Now, there are some criticisms you can throw his way. He's not the best three-point shooter, and he wasn't super efficient overall. But if we go back to those Denver years, when he actually had some scorers around him, he got his field goal percentage up to 45%. Pretty impressive. And another thing you could say is that Iverson, he was not a natural defensive player. And given that the NBA is very smart nowadays when it comes to exploiting guys who are not the best on that side of the floor, that would definitely be a challenge he would have to take up. But at the same time, he did a good job of defending within Larry Brown's system, even if he himself is not a lockdown defensive player, perhaps. Just picture this for a second. Imagine Allen Iverson getting a screen from some big man, I don't know who, jetting inside, having 2 or 3 shooters on the wings for him. Tell me Allen Iverson wouldn't kill it in today's NBA. Tell me he wouldn't. So anyway, to sum this whole bad boy up, I think Iverson, with the emphasis on three-point shooting in today's modern NBA, combined with the popularity of the pick and roll, I think Iverson would have an abundance of shooters to kick out to. I also think his ability to attack the rim, draw contact, and get to the free throw line would be too much for other teams to deal with, and I think he would be great in today's NBA.